Well, again, thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Jeff Stetz. I'm the Director of Science and Assistant Professor here at the Center for Wildlife Studies. This is our Wildlife Wednesday program, where we get to hear from some of our amazing colleagues and collaborators and instructors at the center and hear more about their courses, the research they're involved with, outreach activities, conservation work, and so on. It's a great chance for us to learn more and hopefully to share with the public and other interested and engaged folks. Today is the second in our three-part series on behavior and conservation. And Dulce Espelosin is our talker today, our presenter. And she's a conservation practitioner and professional facilitator with nearly 20 years of experience advancing community-based conservation initiatives around the world. With training in communication, human behavior, and social marketing, her work focuses on helping organizations and communities develop practical, effective strategies that lead to lasting conservation outcomes. Dulce began her career at Mexico's La Primavera protected area and later spent 12 years with RARE, which is an international nonprofit that works in more than 60 countries to inspire behavior change for people and nature. At RARE, Dulce led and supported initiatives in diverse and often remote settings, helping to design programs and train conservation leaders to implement locally grounded solutions. In recognition of her contributions to conservation outreach and leadership, Dulce received the Distinguished Service Award from the Society for Conservation Biology in 2020. That's quite the award, I have to say. And she currently works as an independent consultant, collaborating with organizations such as USAID, Flora and Fauna International, and the Wildlife Conservation Society to strengthen conservation leadership and behavior change strategies worldwide, and of course teaches courses with the center as well. So with that, I will hand it over to Dulce. At the end of the presentation, there'll be time for questions and answers. If people want to put questions in the comments in the chat box or unmute themselves afterwards, we will do our best to answer those. And if people do have to jump off early, just remember that our presentations are uploaded to our YouTube page. Those can be accessed either from our page or searching on YouTube, and I'll be putting in some links to these towards the end of the talk. And with that, I will hand it over.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you everybody for being here. I'm so glad to see you all in here, and of course, know about the interest in this topic that hopefully it's helpful for all of you and how to engage communities to create great and real conservation impact in whatever you are working, in any topic that you are having in your site. So hopefully everything that we see today is something that you can apply in terms of promoting behaviors and making sure that the communities can really rely in everything that you are trying to incorporate into their best practices or daily practices. So with that, yes, welcome to this free Wednesday webinars from the CWWS. And today, of course, I have the pleasure to share the second webinar on this series. If you want to see and watch the first one that was past month, I'm happy to provide later, or Jeff can copy paste the link in the chat so you can see it. And it was, of course, about behavior change and how to work with them. As you know, this is just a glance of what you can see and learn in the course Behavior Change for Conservation and Sustainable Impact. So you have in mind this, please. And we're going to start very soon studying this course for this spring stage of the year. And it's a 7-module course where you will find all of the different topics about behavior change, social marketing, promoting a real impact into different audiences, theories of change, research, etc. So hopefully you can look into that. We also have a link into that that we can share later in the session. But if you want to, of course, start looking into the course or something, you can feel free to do so. But yes, so today, in order to make sure that we are aligned and start with the same thinking, I would like to see if you could please share at the chat what comes to mind when you heard or when you registered into this session of today about engaging communities to create real conservation impact. What did you think it will be involved? What is what you're thinking this is going to be about? So I want to read you in the chat, so please feel free to take a minute to do so. And I have some. It says farmers adopting conservation practices. Yes, that will be ideally happening. And hopefully with this, you can learn how to do that. Social science methodologies and best practices. Yes, how to promote those. Working across significant differences. Yes, cultural, economic backgrounds, all of the things that we need to consider while working with target audience. That's a very good one. Removing or decreasing barriers that prevent the general public from interacting in conservation efforts, for example, community science projects. Yes, understanding what are the motivations and barriers of the audience is critical and key when we are trying to promote conservation efforts. So that's really, really interesting that you mentioned that. How to influence human communities for enduring conservation. Yes, that also we need to make sure that we influence positively every audience and human community that we are working with. And of course, today we will cover some of the best ways to do so. So hopefully that will be also achieved. Looking at social construct and psychology to change our community for sustainability. Yes, hopefully that will happen. That's, of course, something that I really like that you mentioned, because of course the behavior change has a lot of relation with human psychology and how humans think, make decisions, and see and observe and receive the different variants in terms of barriers, motivations, and how we can receive different information in the right way, in the right channels. So today we're going to talk about that. Overcoming apathy and the powerlessness. Yes, of course, because when people doesn't have the right attitude or are not willing to do something, because we are the ones that want to change the behavior, we are in charge of motivating them to do so. So yes, today we're going to talk a little bit of that and see how we can overcome that apathy. Small fringe communities and limiting negative human-wildlife interactions. Yes, hopefully, if we do the right, I will say, behavior change strategies, and then we promote that in order to have best practices, that's a possibility. And yes, we're going to talk a little bit about that and how communities can, of course, again, receive the information and act about it. So thank you for all of that. That's really good. And I'm very glad to see that everybody is super aligned in the thinking and what we're going to cover today. And those that weren't here in the last session, and again, the recording is in the chat, you can take a look. And I'm mentioning this because it's connected. What we saw on the last session was everything about, well, the very basics, because in 1 hour we covered just the basics, but everything that it was related to human behavior and understanding what are the current behaviors that a specific target audience has, how we can define the desired behavior that we want for a community to kind of adopt or adapt. And then also we talk about how to identify the right audience. It's key. And this is part of what you were saying. So these were the elements that we talked in the past session. So again, if you are interested in having this first, I will say, base of the topic of today, please go and take a look at that link. And today, of course, we want to make sure that we cover somehow the continuation of that. And that means that once that we have defined the right target audience and we know who is the target audience that we're going to work in our site and in our community, that also means that we know the desired behavior that we want for them. That also knows that we know the current behavior and the one that we want to change or make sure that the people adopt or adapt differently. So as you can see, again, everything is related. And I'm just going to make a pause in here because I just want to make sure that, sorry. I just want to make sure that everybody kind of start imagining how you can use this in your own communities and your own sites. Because imagine that you're working, let's say, with fishers. With fishers, you have this problem about overfishing, right? So you want them to start reducing the amount of fish that they catch every day. But you also want to start making sure that they start knowing a little bit of the best practices that you are kind of promoting within them. So for example, if you want them to reduce the catch per day, if you go and ask for this, it's going to be very likely that people will just not really pay attention to whatever you're saying, or they will be reacting maybe negatively because you're asking a fisher to stop fishing or reducing the fishing when they depend on the fish of every day. They feed their families with that fish, they sell that, so it's an income for them. And it's also probably a practice, a cultural practice for them, because as you know, these are the type of practices that people inherit from their parents, grandparents, and that's what they know and they like and they enjoy because they grew up like that and they think and feel like that's the best way to continue their income practices. So for that, it's very important that we kind of make sure that we are approaching those audiences, let's say the fishers in this case, with the right articulation, with the right and the appropriate channels, and especially with the right message. Because again, we are not in the best position or positioning our conservation efforts if we just arrive out of nothing, just start sharing about overfishing and not having a clear key message on what is the alternative that we are promoting. So if we want them to reduce fishing, for example, we want them to, of course, understand that they have alternatives. So for example, they could start having, sizes, delimitations, or for example, respecting some seasons or changing the way that they use the gear for fishing. So all of these are alternatives that we need to think and promote. But again, the way that we promote those will make sure that we do a change or we do nothing. So today we're going to talk about that. So let me just share a little bit of this and why this is very important. And again, because we, the humans, make hundreds of decisions every day, and everything that could happen that it's or think in our heads that it's something super simple, like for example, going for a walk, it might have some, ways that it just doesn't happen because sometimes we are just, kind of tired at the end of the day, but we want to walk every day, but then somehow we decide to stay and watch TV. So something happened between my intentions and what I really do. So as you can see, I really, really need the right motivation for that. So as you think about it, even like small actions, small behaviors that we do every day are really difficult to achieve sometimes. So when we are thinking in our target audiences where they depend economically, imagine the enormous effort that means for them. So every time that you think about what you want to promote in terms of best practices and change, try to think about the size of what you're asking them to do, and also think about the size of the alternative that you will give them, because that's equally important. So for that, of course, we know that even though the behavior change might seem simple in theory, just decide it and do it is not that simple. And human behavior is influenced by habits and routines, social pressures, expectations, emotional factors, immediate versus long-term rewards. And we need to take in consideration all of that when we are trying to motivate our audiences in the right way in order to achieve the adoption of the behavior. And how do we do that? So we have different techniques and we could be thinking about different ways to do so. But something that I've been using in the past, and I know it's very effective when we use it properly, it's what is called social marketing. And today I want to share a little bit of this, and then you will start thinking how to use it and how to adopt or adapt some of these different techniques in what you are trying to promote with your target audiences in terms of conservation. Because again, marketing principles say that conservation needs to have very good and focused key messages using the right channels, etc. So for that, this is one of the techniques that I recommend that you could use. But before that, I just want to start asking you again in the chat, what do you think is the difference between commercial marketing versus social marketing? What do you think is the difference? Yes, I see a message that says trusting the deliver of the message. And that is really, really important because that's the way that we will achieve a change or not in the behavior or action that we are promoting. Also, buying into the idea, believe rather than the product. Yes, that's really good. It's about that, and I'm gonna just share about that. But you are very close to that, and it's really, really, really a key, and that's the key difference, maybe. So yes, just to in order to advance a little bit in terms of time, yes, I believe commercial marketing will always sell you a product. Yes, I want to buy this pen, so I'm gonna go to the store and I'm gonna look for the brand of the best pen that I've been using for years, or the one that I like, or even I see a promotion of two buy one get two, something like that, and I'll buy that pen. So commercial marketing will help me to make the decisions about brands and products. And sometimes they do very well, in terms of promotions that will make me change the brand that I know for something new just because they have a special promotion. So that's what marketing gives me in general in the commercial sector. And when we think about social marketing, that's exactly right, Emily. We are kind of promoting behaviors. So that means that we are promoting social well-being and ways for people to act differently. So, for example, if we go and see and think about the different things that somebody is promoting and how they do it, we can always see that they have very specific marketing techniques that are super strong, and they make sure that our brands and the way that we use products and think about products are in our heads. But of course, in social marketing, we want to make sure that we do the same with the behaviors. So in other words, for example, commercial marketing will make me buy the brush teeth brand, let's say Colgate, Crest, whatever you use, versus social marketing that will make me to brush my teeth 3 times a day. So you see the behavior, it's something that is good for me, it's healthy, and it's something that will help me in my well-being in the future. So that's the key difference, and that's the power of social marketing, because as you think about it, social marketing is super powerful, and it's even more harder to achieve than commercial marketing, because the decision that a human has to have in terms of just buying a product versus changing a behavior, it's totally different. So the amount of motivation that I need for changing a behavior must be bigger than the amount of motivation that I need to buy a product. And today I want to show you that even when we think that the brands that we really know and are stick in our heads, they do promotion often and they stop, or they don't stop. But for that, I just have here a test that I want to make to you. So in the chat, or you can open the microphone, if I show you something, I want you to tell me what is that. So what is this? Yes, McDonald's. And how do you know? Because it doesn't have Golden Arch. Yeah, it doesn't have the name, but you know it, right? You know it's McDonald's. And you know it because you know the brand. You know that color, you know the arc, you know the McDonald's logo. It's in your heads. So I'm just gonna make another question to you in here. Do you think McDonald's, or have you seen McDonald's stopping the promotion? Or you see that it's a sustained promotion, that it's always there, that you see it in different parts, you hear in different parts, you can even find it in different parts of the world, or they have been stopping because now everybody recognize the brand, they don't do promotion anymore? What is the answer in that? Endless and infinite. Correct. You see? It is used constantly. Yeah, exactly. So they don't stop. So in here, I have my second question. When you think about your conservation efforts, do you normally think about an infinite and endless promotion, or you think about a promotion that is going to be there for 6 months, 1 year, while the resources last, and that's it? Good point. Okay. Yes, I'm going to show you another one, and I want you to tell me what is this? What is this brand? Mercedes, yes, of course. You see, and you know it, and it doesn't have the logo, sorry, the slogan anywhere or the name. I just have the logo, and you are recognizing that. And last one, what is this brand? Nike, exactly. And if I even ask you, what is the slogan of Nike? Will you say that? Do you know the slogan of Nike? Yes, which one is? The whoosh. Yes, but what is always just do it. Perfect. You see, it's in your head, it's in your mind, and it's an easy just remembering something that could be just in everywhere that I go. And again, the marketers of these brands, they never stop doing promotions. They never end about the promotions, and they change even colors sometimes, and they change even the type of words that they use, or the people that are announcing whatever new brands of shoes or car or whatever they are selling. But as you can see, they never stop, and that is why those brands are super well positioned in our heads. So as you can think, when we want people to start brushing their teeth again, uh, we need to have a promotion, and we need to think about something that is endless and something that it's going to be forever. And of course, I know that it might seem overwhelming at this moment, thinking, how come I'm going to pay for the promotion, or make sure that I have an exit time for my conservation effort, or how I'm going to make sure that whenever maybe I'm promoting a conservation effort, but then I'm going to leave and move to another conservation effort, and the local people will just be there and they have to continue. Well, you have to plan all of that in order to make sure that the people can just move through the steps. Because sometimes, if you think about it, people might be in the step of, let's say, the fishers again. They might need information about best practices at the beginning. We need to promote that, and maybe it takes, I don't know, 1 year or 2 years, if it's only one community that we're talking about, right? So in that community, for 1 year or 2 years, we promote the best practices in a way that is continuous, in a way that it's with the key messages, with the right, slogan and continuation. Maybe after 1 or 2 years, they will know the best practices. After that, the fact that they really use those practices, or they gradually change the behaviors that they are doing now into those practices, might take a while. So maybe the efforts in our promotions will change a little bit the message, meaning that they won't be receiving the information about what we want them to adopt or the best practices, but more how to do it, because now they will be ready to adopt those. So we just need to think about how our audience is moving in something that is called the stages for behavior change. I can share a little bit more about that, or it's in the course as well. But if you can take a look in the internet, you will find it. But people make decisions in different stages, and we move in different levels of information regarding every conservation effort that we have. So make sure that whenever you are designing or thinking in promoting a behavior within your community, just know the right type of information that you need at the right moment, so you can move people along the information, the action, and then, of course, maintenance. So make sure that you do that, so you can really, really achieve that engagement in the community that you're working with. And if you think about social marketing, and maybe you are thinking, well, I don't think I have seen a lot of, examples of that, and I don't really know how to use it or implement some activities, materials in terms of social marketing. I believe you have seen it. It's just that we didn't maybe knew about the exact difference. And for example, what are these commercial promoting? Do you know this commercial or this brand? Yes, breast cancer awareness by NLF. Yes, of course. So as you see, it's something that we know. And if you think about it, they are not saying a lot of things. They don't use a lot of words. They are just using a consistent color, a consistent brand, and a consistent message. And if you see this normally in different parts, you will know it. And this is promoting well-being, a social change for the people to be better in the future. So every time that you think about something like this, just know it's social marketing and is what you can use also in your conservation efforts. And I have another example that I don't know if I'm going to share the sound. Please let me just know if you hear it correctly. You hear it or no?
No.
Ti chiami?
Pietro.
Okay, give me a second. I'm just gonna try to share sound here. Okay. So, okay, let me just do this again so you can see it and hear it. And okay. Please just share if you hear it well now. You hear it?
Ah,
Come ti chiami?
Pietro. Fulvio. Domenico.
Quanti anni hai?
11. 9 e mezzo. 7. 8.
Che vuoi fare da grande?
Il pompiere. Il calciatore. Il pasticcere. Il poliziotto.
Oh, you don't see
Il
it?
pizzaiolo.
Perché?
Perché voglio costruire la casa di sogni.
Ah,
Perché mi
there.
piace guardare.
see
Salvo
it
le
now?
persone che mi piace
Oh,
avere.
let me see it. Okay. Yeah.
E lei è Martina.
It happened here.
Che ti piace di lei?
Can you hear it
Gli
now?
occhi mi
Sorry.
piacciono. Le sue scarpe, le sue mani, i suoi occhi, i suoi capelli. Sensibilità solo i capelli. Tutto. Sarebbe lei la bambina. Si fidanzerei.
E ora falle una carezza. Falle una boccaccia. E ora dalle uno schiaffo. Uno schiaffo forte. Uno schiaffo. Dai. No?
No. No. Non ce la do. No. No.
No? E perché no?
Perché lei è femmina. Non ce la posso mai dare. Perché le femmine non si picchiano. Perché così si fa male. E perché Gesù non vuole far picchiare. Prima cosa è bellina e non glielo posso dare. Perché è una ragazza. Perché sono contraria alla violenza. Si dice anche le donne non si devono toccare nemmeno con un fiore. E perché è brutto. Oppure con un mazzo di fiori. E perché sono uomo.
Dalle un bacino.
La posso dare sulla bocca o sulla guancia?
Okay, so what do you think this commercial is promoting? Yes, domestic harmony. Yeah, thank you. Very good. And tell me, did you feel something when you saw it? Did you had any emotion, any, a kind of emotional appeal when you were watching this? Or you still thinking about it, about emotions, because it was a lot of emotions?
I would also say there was kind of a bit of anticipatory buildup when they said slap her, and then it kind of shifted into a sense of relief when they all said no, because you weren't sure which way it was gonna go.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and thank you for that. And that's totally understandable. I've seen this commercial many times, and I always think in different things. But yes, it's maybe something that they thought about it really well before putting it together. Maybe it has a lot of, I would say, just something that happened just naturally and spontaneous, or they put it all together in a way that looked like. But at the end, if you think about it, it's produced in a way that it's simple, that it promotes emotions and gives the same message that we could be reading maybe over big brochures, or a kind of watching a documentary that it's super, super strong, or that we could be, hearing in the radio, but with difficult words or difficult technicisms that are difficult to understand. So whenever you think about social marketing and how to promote your conservation efforts, try to think in something that is equally simple, but it has a good message, but at the same time, if has emotions involved, it's just something that maybe people will have in their minds for longer, and it's gonna be very well received and will persistent over time. So hopefully with that, that's an example of how the different, I would say, activities or materials can be produced with social marketing. And of course, that's something that I just want to continue sharing with all of you, because something that you need to really understand when we are talking about behavior change and what do we want to achieve when promoting and using the social marketing techniques is that we want to make sure that one action and one behavior can become a habit, something that the people do without thinking. If you think, for example, in terms of when people weren't used to use the seatbelt when driving a car, that was a behavior and an action that required a lot of promotion from the government and from different, sources. We were receiving the same message. Where we were watching TV and people were, like flying without using the seatbelt. Other were more like, in terms of safety and positive income when impacts and injuries were very controlled because of, or thank you to the use of the seatbelt. We saw that in different ways and sources. But at the end, when you think about it, after those many years of promotion, you go now into your car and you put your seatbelt without thinking about it, because it's a habit. It's something that you do without thinking about it, without making a hard decision. It's something that you just do because you know it's good. And that's the goal that we want to achieve when we are thinking in the conservation efforts. So hopefully, whenever you think about it, you can think in how to promote that behavior that you are trying to promote in your conservation effort. And it's, sorry, and it can be sustainable over time until it becomes a habit. And when you think about the group adopting a behavior, that is when we set a social norm, because that's different from the individuals, because it's a collective action. And that's when we change a group in the way that they think, their mindsets, and the way that they really behave. And with that, you are changing not just an habit, but a social norm. And that's, of course, super big. And if you achieve at some day something like this, of course, you will be changing the world, even if it sounds a little, those type of things that you feel like, oh, that's not going to happen. Well, if you do this, it's something that will change the way people behave, or at least a group of people behave. And how do we do that? Well, I just want to share, of course, that we have the 4 P's of marketing that we use in commercial marketing, but we try to adapt those for the social marketing. Meaning, when you think about about social marketing, the product will be the behavior. We want the fishers to adopt best practices, like, for example, respecting seasons and the size of the fish and the gear that they're using. Those are the three products that I'm sharing and want to promote in my site with my target audience, that are the fishers of this specific community. The place, of course, will have to be with the places that those fishers visit, because, of course, I don't want to promote those practices in a neighboring community, because I'm not working with that neighbor community. I'm working with this specific community. Those places that they visit, that they go often with their families, with their friends, or to buy supplies for fishing, those are the places that I'm going to use in terms of promotion for printing materials and everything that is related to, let's say I want to invite them to come to a community session to discuss about the best practices. Maybe I will print a brochure and I'll put it in the store where they buy their supplies. Then the price. What about the price? And this could be very difficult to understand, but also could be easy if we just think about in the behavior that they are leaving behind. So that means that the product that I'm having in here is the best practices for the fishers in order to reduce the overfishing. So the price for that will be that they change the way that they fish at this moment, meaning that they leave whatever type of gear that they are using, that it's destroying the fishing. For example, let's say that they were using dynamite. Well, stop using that. Or they were using this type of big nets, maybe changing those nets for more focused small nets. So whatever I change has to be with what they will leave behind. And that will be the price that they will have to pay. And if you think about it, it's not money, but it's bigger than that, again, because it's something that for them is an habit already, something that they are used to. So they need to leave that in order to start with new actions and new behaviors. And in terms of promotion, we want to make sure that the promotion, it's a combination of everything that are on the 4 Ps. So that means that I will know, because I know my target audience, which channel of radio, for example, they listen the most. And maybe I even want to know at what time they listen the radio, because maybe they wake up super early, or normally fishers wake up super early, but I want to make sure to know at what time they are listening exactly to that station in the radio, so I can promote or talk about best practices of fisher in that specific channel of the radio at that time, and whenever I know that the people will receive the message correctly, meaning my target audience. So for that, I just want to make sure that I know my target audience really, really well, and I know the channels that they use. So for example, every time that I think about materials, just thinking something that it's simple. For example, this is in Chile, in Latin America, and for example, they were saying clean beach, pride of Curacao. Curacao is the city where we were promoting this, and the idea is that people were just cleaning the beaches. So as you can see, something simple and just gives the idea of cleaning the beach correctly. They were using, for example, also these type of mascots that you have seen maybe in the past, and you can use it for the kids of the audience. And this is something very important that I just want to say, because sometimes we tend to confuse the audience between adults and kids. And the difference is that kids are really, really important in our conservation efforts, super important. But they are the messengers of the messages that we want to promote, because they are not in charge of making decisions about conservation efforts in terms of, let's say, best practices or changing gears or respecting season. The parents are in charge of doing those decisions, but the kids can promote the alternatives, and we can talk to the kids in their schools and do, drawings, festivals, and using mascots. But the idea is to motivate the kids for them to talk with their parents in order to make the right decisions. So whenever you think about activities for kids, just make sure that you know that they will be the messengers of your movement. So again, just to be clear, the product is the objective behavior or desired behavior that you want to promote. The price is leaving behind the actual behavior. The place are the channels and the places, meaning that we can also include, of course, everything that is virtual, let's say. So it's not just the store where they go and buy supplies, but they can also have or use, let's say, Facebook. If they do that, you can create a Facebook page and promote some of the activities that you have in there. But just make sure that you use the social media that they use. So you really, really have a focused channel for them. And then promotion, again, how often you will promote it, when, at what time, in which channels, because you know your target audience. So again, the marketing mix will be the promotion at the end, and it's a combination of those 4 P's. So I just want to stop in here because I know we are close to the end of the session. And first, I want to thank you for the commitment and all the interactions that you have been sharing. So I just want to share and ask you, and you can open the microphone or share in the chat, what comes to mind when I say channels of the 4 P's?
To me, I think you mean the means of delivering a message.
Yes, very good. Thank you. And okay, and what, for example, it comes to mind when I say social marketing? Large scale campaign. Yes, that's also something that we need to consider if we want to, and if we have a big target audience and our conservation effort is big enough. So yes, changing behaviors. Yes, that's really, really good. Thank you. Idea and trust over product. Yes, thank you so much. Marketing a behavior or ideological change. Yes. And again, it's difficult, but with the right methodologies, it's possible. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, I hope that this it's now kind of getting us into the portion of just listening. If you have any questions, comments, please feel free to open the mic or share in the chat. But again, just as a way to make sure that we are comprehending everything that was for this hour, please remember that today we were talking about how to work with the right people, the target audience, and how to use the fundamentals of social marketing, meaning you understand those, hopefully you understand those. And of course, how can social marketing can help you promote your conservation efforts to engage communities to create real conservation impact. So if you have questions, feel free to do it in the chat or open the mic, or if you are happy about it, just thumbs up, whatever you feel like.
Before anyone jumps into questions, I'll give a similar example. We had a campaign here in Alaska to try and promote awareness and change behaviors related to moose vehicle collisions. We have at least a few hundred moose a year killed in the area where I live, just on highways. And we did focus groups to try and optimize our message and came up with a mascot, coincidentally, that I felt was more geared towards kids, but it was the same as you're saying, that we're trying to encourage the children to encourage the parents who are actually doing the driving to slow down, how to interact with the drivers, that kind of thing, to reduce those collisions, because it's really is a very serious issue up here.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And yes, those I will say materials are very effective when we are just clear in the messages that we want to promote and the audiences that we want to just involve into the decision making and how to achieve to them, meaning the 4 P's. If you have a clear product, a clear price, the right places, the right channels, and the right promotion, it's going to be more successful that you engage the people in the right way.
ask how long you in your consulting firm would do an analysis of the situation of the core groups that you want to change the behaviors of before you create your practices on how to adjust that and how long the campaign itself would take generally.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So normally we do, for example, we try to combine and we start with qualitative research to start having some focus groups and kind of delimit a little bit of the behaviors that we can achieve and start getting a little bit, familiar with the target audience and the groups that we will want to involve, to then move into quantitative research to do questionnaire surveys and of course having a baseline that is also the way that we can measure the change over time. And we do pre and post survey questionnaires and also other type of indicators that we need in terms of ecological factors or others. And once we have a clear panorama, I will say, about the target audience and a real good understanding of how they behave, why they behave the way that they do, because normally or sometimes we tend to think about cultural norms when they are in reality not having that as a cultural norm. Is just that they don't have an alternative. So it's good to avoid all of the assumptions. And for that, we take at least 3 months. So at least 3 months in just the research and getting into a deep knowledge of the audience. And that is complemented also after the pre-questionnaire service with other qualitative research in terms of in-depth interviews to just make sure that we really, really are considering all the factors, barriers, motivations. So again, like 3 months or 4 in that period of time. And once we design the key message, we even validate that with the communities, just to make sure that they really understand the words, they really feel, that it's something that it's beneficial for them. So we start involving the communities in some of the decision making that it's in the right level for them. And for that, at least the minimum that we like to promote a behavior, it's about 7 to 8 months. And once we have that, we need to consider if we need to move to another secondary action that we need to promote. So every time that we want to promote one action, let's say, it's going to be like 7 to 8 months. And then we do the continuation or we close, but we do the post service to make sure that we measure change over time. And all of that, you can find it in the course. And again, yes, in my consultancy firm, you can reach out if you are looking to do something like this, and I can help you to create a strategy, even create a theory of change, for example, to have clarity in a good route in how to have really strong behavior change strategies to promote different conservation efforts in your sites.
Thank you.
Yes, what do we do when other people just don't care or not listen? Yes, that's a very common factor that we have in the communities. And there's a methodology that I really like, and I invite you to also take a look maybe in internet, and you can also find it in the course, and it's called the diffusion of innovation. You can look at it, and you will see that in every audience, we have different type of people, and some of them are the innovators, that people that feel really, let's say, amazed with the changes, and they are willing to test and try new things. Then we have the, majority, we have a curve where people start adopting over time. And so it's the late majority, well, early adopters, then early majority, late majority. But one of those groups needs to have a little bit of interaction with the innovators, because they are the ones that share the processes and whatever experience they have in adopting the change. Because sometimes we need to have a peer or somebody that we trust that are telling us what was the experience in order to do something new. So let's say a cell phone. Until my brother buy the new cell phone, I'm going to ask him, how was that? If it's, functional, it has a good cost benefit or no. And maybe even if I see it in the promotion, I still need to talk to somebody that I trust. So I might be a late majority in adopting or using a new cell phone, but I will need somebody that already tested, so innovators. But something important to consider in these audiences are the laggards and the people that will never change and the people that it's not interested in change. But if you see the diffusion of innovation that has scientific basis, it says that only the 16% of the total population, let's say 100% of population, will be the laggards. So if you think about it, when you are achieved that 84% of your target audience adopt a new behavior, is doing that and it's changing, you are changing the larger portion. So you don't really need to focus your energy and time in the laggards because they are the less, let's say, important percentage of the total population that you are trying to achieve. So I invite you to take a look on that diffusion of innovation or reach out if I can share a little bit more. Yes, I can share a link for the course. I think Jeff maybe has it over there, super quick.
And we
Because
had this one in the chat box. There's one for the Wildlife Wednesday and for the class.
yeah. And hopefully the course has everything that you need. Again, also I have my consultancy firm. You can reach out if you want me to support in any of your projects. Happy to do so. And yes, this is my passion. This is what I know how to do. I've been doing it for many years. So if I can help you somehow, I'll be happy to do so.
Yeah, it sounds like a fantastic class that I think all of us would benefit from. I know I would. Are there any other questions?
Yeah? No? Yes, and with that, I just want to remind you, thank you, Emily, and thank you everybody for the great participation. It was great reading you all and having even your voices included. Next time we will do it more alive, right, Jeff? We will include more voices so everybody can participate. But yes, changing a behavior is possible with the right techniques. So thank you for being here, and hopefully you can join me in the course or reach out to me by email, whatever you need. Thank you for your time and commitment today.
And please share the link for the YouTube page with any peers who might be interested in these presentations. I think I mentioned earlier that the third part of our behavioral series is in a month from now. Dr. Stephanie Wilkes will talk on decoding wildlife behavior to solve conservation challenges. One last little plug, if anyone feels compelled to contribute to our programs, we certainly would welcome and be grateful for any donations. We are a nonprofit, so it's actually tax deductible as well. Thank you again to everyone who showed up today. This is, as I always say, the highlight of my month, getting to participate in this program. I always learn a lot, which is humbling and inspiring. And of course, thank you again to Dulce for presenting back-to-back months in particular. It's a lot of extra work. Really appreciate it. Very much enjoyed it, and look forward to seeing people at future presentations.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Jeff.